Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Hack of All Trades. I'm your host, Jordan Johnson, and I am the hack of all trades. So this is episode 1 of my video and podcast series, Hack of All Trades. The reason I started this podcast series is pretty simple. I took a step back and I kind of took a look at some of my habits, some of my tendencies, and I found that I tend to pick things up quickly and, they kind of fall by the wayside over time. So I just kind of wanted to start a little series, just kind of talking about that. It'll probably, some parts will be humorous, who knows where things will go. But this is episode 1. And I first off just kind of wanted to talk on and touch on that tendency and sort of the base of where this podcast came from. So really this all kind of came out of the idea of being a jack of all trades. Once I kind of pick up a subject, I tend to run with it and then, talk to me 6 months later and it's like I've never touched that gear or that stuff since then. So that tends to be a habit of mine that I've noticed. And right now, my current obsession, and it's been this way for a while, this one I don't think is going away, tends to be around audio equipment. So whether that be a DAC or an amp, headphones, interfaces, things like that, that's kind of where a lot of my spare time and spare cash is going to at the moment. And so these sort of hobbies and these sort of things, I often see them, kind of come into my life and then, go away. I'll get something, really nice or, a nice little piece of gear that, somebody would be very thankful to have, and I'll use it for a couple months and then, either sell it off or not use it again. And, I often feel bad about that. It's when I reflect upon it, I often wonder why I even picked up certain hobbies if I knew I was going to drop them. But most of the time, I think it comes out of a love for the gear, the tech, trying new stuff, seeing if it, interests me or has any sort of staying power. And then, when the next new shiny toy comes along, giving that a shot, just because that's kind of, in our nature to kind of want the latest and greatest thing. So, yeah, I'm the hack of all trades. And hopefully I'll be your little guide here along all of the different trades and things I pick up over time. Like I said, currently I'm kind of into audio equipment, like I said, whether that be amps or things like that. Currently have my eye on some amps. Been watching tons of YouTube videos on the best sort of amp for my headphones. I'm currently using the DT 990 Pro Black Edition because I think that looks nice. Most of my computer stuff is black. Headphones, they are open back. They're 250 ohms, so they're very power hungry. So getting an amp to power those is pretty important to getting the sound you want. So that's kind of my current obsession of late is, diving into amps, finding out which one's going to be the best for, the correct impedance and things like that. So that's kind of where my current little obsession is lying is, trying to get that audio in my setup just right. That's, always something I like tinkering with, and it's very, very easy to fall into that trap of, spending too much money with things like that. So, I'm not a crazy rich man, so I try and do my best with what I have. And right now, these headphones, with the new amp I'm looking at, would be kind of right around, I think combined, the amp is, $300 or $400, and the headphones are $150, $200. You're looking at a fairly expensive setup just for, listening to music or playing video games or whatever you do. So audio, that's kind of a current one, hack of all trades that I'm into at the moment. That also goes along with some audio equipment. So my buddy Mike, for a birthday a while back, got me one of these, and this is a perfect example of me getting into something and then never touching it for a while. So Mike got me this actually for my birthday, I want to say 4-5 years ago, and this is a Novation Launchpad Mini. Basically, I can use it as a sequencer or, trigger drum effects or a drum pad inside of a DAW, inside of some sort of, FL Studio, Ableton, whatever. And that was basically because I was really interested in, trying to make music and using different tools to make music. And so Mike got me that as a nice gift. I used it for a little while, and then of course it just sat and sat and sat. And now that I'm kind of getting back into audio and production as well, that has made its way back out. So that's a great example of something that might just sit around and then find a use later. Or again, it's just one of these little trades I pick up and then happen to never touch again. But I can share that with you guys. That's kind of the whole point of all this. Next, this little audio piece that I've been tinkering with is the Akai Rhythm Wolf. So this is a little sequencer and drum pad. A little bit more of an all-in-one unit than the Novation Launchpad because you can use it as a standalone. Just plug your headphones right into it and start going. You don't need a computer or anything like that to run it. So it's a pretty fun little guy. Again, got it for Christmas. Thought I was going to be, making beats all the time. But, sometimes Dr. Dre gets busy too. And, these things find their way into a closet. So that's another one of these things that has made an appearance as of late. That in the past I was just kind of using temporarily, got put away, and finds its way back into rotation. So that's kind of what this whole show, this whole podcast, this whole video series, however you're consuming this, that's really what this is all about, is all these sort of different things that come in and out of your life, these little trades you pick up here and there, and just sort of the journey that sort of takes you on. Because I often find myself, sort of like anybody else. You might sit around and you wonder, hey, what are some of my, big passions in life? What are things, that really make me want to get out of bed and, make the world a better place? All that sort of good stuff. And, sometimes those questions aren't, easy to answer. And so, oftentimes you fill that with an attempt at a new hobby, or an attempt at, trying something new, a new trade. And, you try and see if that, has any sort of calling to you. And so, this is a little bit about that as well. So it's sort of about the discovery of, maybe something that you might find a passion in, sort of the hope that each new attempt at a new hobby might, have the next thing, the next sort of, fun pursuit for you. And that's kind of, what this is all centered around, that sort of, again, it centers around towards sort of the core human search for purpose. And, we may or may not get philosophical here and there, but that's what sort of this breaks down to is, a search for purpose through different means, different trades, different, trying different things. And just seeing what sticks, what doesn't, and talking about it, sharing it, expressing it, and seeing what you guys are into. So yeah, I just wanted to introduce the podcast, introduce sort of the thought and behind it. Hopefully, it's interesting. Hopefully you find some of the stuff I cover interesting, funny, whatever, thought-provoking. That's sort of the point of all this, is really just get out online, have, some sort of footprint, some sort of trail. One day my kids can maybe watch these videos and just see how much of a loser I really am. Right, kids? If you're watching this, one day you'll see this stuff and laugh. But yeah, hopefully over time video quality gets better. Right now, just working with my Logitech C920. That is actually a pretty cool space. I was looking into sort of that sort of high tier webcam doesn't really exist much beyond the C920 and the 22 and the other one. It's a Bravio or something like that. It's a Logitech as well. Those kind of around the $100 mark or less generally seem to run the market. Other than that, you kind of are working with a capture card and a DSLR camera. There are some alternatives popping up, and I think that's a pretty interesting niche market. Sort of that higher end webcam built towards streamers, people who want 1080 at 60 frames a second or something. Kind of, above that $100 price mark, but, not $500 or $600. So that's a curious little market I was looking at. Not too much in that space. So if you know anything about that space, let me know. I would love to talk to you. That is a really interesting space. And like I said, that would be another little piece of gear I'd get and I'd try and I'd like. And I use webcams all the time, so it might stay in rotation a little longer. But, this is one of those little obsessions that'll come up where, oh man, what, can fit this sort of need? Is there anything out there? I don't find anything. And then, of course, I want to start contracting or talking to product developers and engineers, and things tend to snowball quickly. But hey, that's the point of this whole thing, is to talk about it, have an open discussion, find other people who might have the same habits, and we can come to recognize those in a healthy way, and also find a way to sort of nurture those in a healthy way, and maybe we can do that together. So that's kind of the point of all this. This is episode 1. Hopefully we'll be getting into some other cool stuff I've got going on lately. I like showing off my stuff. Who doesn't? So you can take a look at that in the upcoming episodes. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you the background, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And, hopefully we have some fun along the way. So thanks for tuning in to Hack of All Trades. This is Jordan Johnson, and I will see you next time, you hacks.